Hello, my friends. I'm Ranger Russ, and I'm here today with Terry, who is the lead volunteer of an Osprey platform program. And I'll let you tell us what this program is all about.
Well, we started in 2013 when we had an Osprey platform fall down, and we weren't sure what to do. It turned out to be somebody else's platform, and they did come around and fix it. But the following year, in 2014, we had one go down, and we just didn't know, but they had eggs on it. We knew it was a early platform. So we just took it upon ourselves to go out to a lumber store, buy lumber, and then we went out with actually Rod from Guilford Marina. He's the dock master, and we put up a new platform. We put the material back on that platform for the birds, and unfortunately, it was a little late. The birds survived, but the chicks did not. The eggs didn't hatch.
Right.
So, but then we realized we need to do this on a regular basis, and we just got prepared. And next time we had one, we were ready. But more importantly, we got proactive. We started looking for platforms that were really in bad shape and platforms that needed to be replaced.
So you found an old damaged platform and then set about finding the person who it belonged to, seeing if you could get permission.
So that's actually a lot more involved than you think. You see a platform out in the marsh, and you don't know who owns that marsh. So what we have found out, if you go to a site on your computer called GIS, you can go to GIS and pick the town. So GIS, in that case, Guilford, and you can see who owns that plot of land. Turned out to be Guilford Land Trust. We contact them, get permission, and we go forward. But you really just can't go trespassing. So
right.
A lot of the marsh is owned by individual homeowners. A lot of it's owned by land trust. A lot of it's owned by the state, towns. You have to know.
So there's quite a complex series of things that have to happen before you even start putting up the platform. You also have to build the platform. Now, I understand that you have gotten, over the years, you did buy the lumber for that first one, but over the years you were able to get donations to help construct some of these platforms.
Yes, so I've made good friends with Rings End Lumber, and they have made several donations to help us go forward, because a lot of the platforms cannot be funded. So when we find a platform on town property or state property, they typically are not able to fund it. So in that case, all the donations from Rings End is what offsets that.
Right.
And even though we might have to dip into the kitty a little bit, we have the funding to do it that way. Also, we then decided that if somebody wants a platform, we have to kind of build in that little extra money for the orphan platforms that otherwise would not get funded. So if a platform costs X amount of money, we have to just kind of round up to another number, and that's the standard number. And that has a built-in little factor so we can have wood and material for the orphan platforms. And there's a lot of them. Every marsh that you look at has got platforms in it, and many of them are state-owned, land trust-owned, town-owned, and they are typically not funded. And even if they were funded, it might take a month to go through the process to get permission, and that's not likely to happen.
So what's the most common thing you found a problem with the existing platforms? Is it just they're too old, weren't well built in the first place, or a little bit of everything?
Well, it's a lot of everything, but it's mostly age. So even if they put down and built a platform with minimal resources, using nails or used wood, that platform is going to be good for 5 to 10 years. But they get forgotten. That's what happens. They'll just forgotten. So what we decided to do is any older platform that needs help, we completely take it down. We build a brand new platform with 100% brand new wood. All the fasteners that hold the big lumber together are all 1/2-inch galvanized bolts. And the smaller, stuff, up on the actual platform, which is up in the air, not subject to salt water per se, gets more rain than salt.
Yep.
And we put those together with, like smaller lag bolts. But, it's a combination of, they put together, people have used nails. They have a lifespan pretty short.
Yeah.
So galvanized bolts is the way to go.
So your first platform is coming up now, a couple more years. It's going to be 10 years old itself. How many of these platforms do you think you may be going back and doing a second time?
Well, I don't think any of my platforms are going to, other than
They're going to last longer than that.
they're going to last. Yeah, I
Okay.
I think they're built well, all brand new, all pressure treated lumber, all galvanized bolts, and I think my platforms are good for 20. I'm going to
Nice.
say 20 years, maybe pushing 22, 25. Well, you know, there's strange things that happen in wintertime. If you have a flood and that water freezes in the marsh, and then you start to get a thaw and you get winds, you get big sheets of ice and they will mow down. We've had some legs broken and
Yep.
we've repaired them, but no platform has gone down. Smaller structures like bird boxes have been mowed right down. But the actual platforms, none of them been mowed down yet. And they're pretty strong. It would take a lot.
So you've been doing this now for
We started
eight years or so, maybe a little longer.
about 8, yeah.
And you've already mentioned volunteers. How many people do you think over that span, how many different people do you think have helped you out?
Well, I keep track of virtually all people. But if we have a teacher who's involved with a classroom, I only count the teacher as a person I know because it's not really something I should know as all the kids' names,
Right.
you know, just for their own privacy.
Yep.
So if a teacher comes, quite often there's 15 kids with her. And so if you count those people, the people you're, you know, not the teacher, but all the extra kids that you're really not supposed to keep track of. Not supposed to keep track of kids, right? We're pushing 150 different people. On the actual list with names, probably over 105. People that if I was going to build a platform in their neighborhood again, that's somebody I would contact. So I try to get emails or text from every volunteer. We have a core group of steady volunteers, more like 20 people. And I've never, ever planned on a platform and not being able to get enough volunteers to do it.
That was going to be my next question. Those core is about 20,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
they help out anytime you need them. You're going to get enough off that list.
Everybody has their own personal and work-related issues. You can't mess with that. But I've never, ever had a platform going up when I did not have enough people. So, you know, they've been wonderful. We've had Ed Hayshe has been on over 100 platforms with me. Deanna Broderick has been over 75 platforms with me. Tom Kelly's been over 50 platforms. Matthew and Mark Halley have been with me for 35 platforms. So when you get that kind of repeat volunteer, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And it keeps me going. Because if I had a struggle to get volunteers, I would have had to stop.
Yeah.
You know, it's just nice knowing that the crew wants to do it.
So, final question, the big one. How many total platforms have you put up since that first platform?
We put up our 115th last weekend, and we have two scheduled for sure, ASAP, and probably 3 additional ones before the next season. So it's every time you think you're done, you get a phone call from Connecticut Audubon or Osprey Nation, and you say, well, we got somebody with a platform in bad shape. They'd like to get it fixed before spring.
So by next spring, you'll be at 120.
Oh, I think
Pretty
so.
easily.
Oh, I think so.
All right. That's fantastic.
So what I'd really like to get is a different level of volunteer. I want somebody to take over and do exactly what I'm doing. The only person I have that's doing that now is Dan Ferrier out in Saybrook, Old Saybrook. He has, with the help of Christopher Rao, he has done 30 Osprey platforms like what I'm doing from start to finish.
Yep.
And so they have taken care of that whole island out there in Old Lyme. So if we could get somebody like that in the Groton area, get somebody like that in the Fairfield area, That's what we really need, because I don't really want to go past Milford, and I don't really want to go past the Limes.
Okay.
I'll do all the Limes. But to start going into Groton, New London,
You can't do the whole coast of Connecticut.
well, we've done 3 or 4 in Westport, and we've also done some in Stonington.
All right, so you've been pretty much from one end to the other already.
But we'd like to not be able to do those far edges. It's just a hike to get there.
I'd be interested how many miles you put in doing all of these platforms.
Well,
It'd be a lot of mileage right there.
115 times all the, and what we don't calculate is all the trips to the lumberyard. We also have to go to a sheet metal place to get baffle material for the predator guards. There's a lot of extra things that just, you know, my garage is a small little store of all Osprey building parts. I try to keep on hand enough to say do 5 platforms.
So you build these platforms yourself in your garage, for the most part.
For the most part, I have probably 6 or 8 different volunteers over the years that have come to my garage to help me pre-build them. So you cut every single piece to the right size. You drill all the holes that you can, and you build the platform itself. So when you go there, the actual build can be as quick as an hour, which is good, because if you run into a situation where you have a Osprey platform fall down with chicks in it,
Right.
you want to be able to get a platform up and replace it quickly. You don't want to be out there kind of thinking about it.
So not counting trips to the lumberyard, pre-building, when you're going out to a platform to put up a new platform, you can get that done in an hour?
We bank on 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
That's basically, you stop the car, we bring a complete platform. We've done as many as 2 in the same day. And you figure from the time you stop the vehicle, I got a trailer, all the parts are in the trailer, you figure 90 minutes, you're back in, you're leaving.
That's impressive for anything, any construction project, for you to have it down that efficiently. That's pretty impressive.
And my volunteers, as I mentioned before, have been on many, many platforms. If I go there and didn't get out of the car, it would still get done in 90 minutes, because they know what they're doing.
Enough of them know what they're doing now. That's awesome.
So it's incredible. I couldn't ask for a bunch of better volunteers, and so dedicated.
I've been working with Terry for 7 years, 8 years, and yeah, I've been with him for just about every single one. 115.
Now,
is that?
Do you have like a main job one thing that you really enjoy about these platforms?
It's just fun to do from the start all the way to putting them up. Putting them up is the best part. Bringing everything out to the marsh is the pain in the neck part. That's the hard part, because everybody's back is killing them by the time they get out there. But once the material is out there, then we start building it. That's the fun part, you know.
Yeah.
We all have something, we all do all the jobs, but I do certain things, or if more volunteers come that haven't been there, we let them do the work instead of doing it ourselves.
Well, that's great.
It gives everybody a chance to have hands-on,
Yep.
which is the fun part. Every once in a while, I got to tell Terry, we got to get this thing up now, and we can do it. We can do it in 45 minutes on a good day, and an hour and a half when we have everybody else doing it. So there's a little difference.
So what do you think the worst weather conditions that you ever put a platform up in?
It was snowing.
How cold was it?
It was snowing and probably 30 degrees. Although we did put up, we did a platform in Guilford, and it was in September, October, and it was getting late. I guess it was daylight savings time, and it's 5 o'clock, and it's dark, and we're in a marsh, and we're up to here in mud, and we're trying to put nuts and bolts, little tiny nuts and bolts, and a big piece of wood, and you know your hands just don't
Fingers
work,
are frozen.
and you drop one. And,
Oh, no.
you know. But you know that was some of the first ones we did, so we were a lot younger, really enthusiastic. So that wasn't too bad actually. But we did one in the snowstorm. We've done some in rain. I had to talk them out of a rainstorm, only because it gets slippery in a marsh.
Oh yeah.
It's slippery to start with. Then you're walking on sometimes platforms. So we ixnayed one of them at one point.
Next question. What do you think the strangest thing you ever found in a platform was?
We found an arrow, a bone arrow. We found a plunger. We found a fan belt. Literally a complete fan belt. You know, they love colorful. I think they like blue. To
Yeah,
tell you the truth.
we should explain that osprey, especially the males, like to decorate their nests,
Yeah.
and usually they decorate with trash. So
Well,
you're
plastic
finding a lot of
bags,
stuff.
Nests, fishing nets they use for bait. We find a lot of those little
The bait bags and stuff.
stuff
Yep.
like that, onion bags, anything with color in it.
Yep.
They come up and they put it, which usually isn't too bad because they bury it. The monofilament is the killer for
Right.
them and they're young. I hate to see that stuff. In fact, we'll go up and take it out if somebody lets us know where we find it, because that ends up being bad because they can't bury it. It just keeps popping up and popping up.
Yeah,
and popping
osprey
up.
are one of those birds that continue to add sticks and debris to the nest for the whole nesting season.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
they even if there's trash, they cover it up sometimes pretty quickly.
They cover it up.
Have you ever found like dead fish or stuff stuck in the sides?
Not so much stuck in the sides, but there's a skeleton or two in the nest there. They're pretty
They
messy.
just build it
after
right
a
in.
while. There are trees or house sparrows that make nests in the actual underneath the nest.
Yeah.
You'll see them. Bees. I had to stop. We took one down one day, and it was just full of dead fish parts, and it wasn't a colony of bees, but they were there.
They were feeding on
and I'm allergic to bees, so off I go until they dispersed all that. So other than that, I mean, I can't think of things. If it's hanging around and they can get it, they'll put it in there.
This is Christine and Todd from A Place Called Hope, and we are not doing this alone. A lot of people don't understand what goes into efforts to preserve our wildlife, and in order to preserve our wildlife for the future, it requires an entire community of people, volunteers. What we do in taking care of these birds, we're not paid by the state or the government to do what we do, and for the kind of effort that we're talking about right now with the Osprey platforms, these people are really donating so much, not just their time, but their energy and effort and passion into something that matters and makes them feel good. And it really helps us with our entire mission in preserving. It has an impact well into the future. So every platform that's put up and completed or repaired, rebuilt, however you want to put it, has the potential for so many more osprey well into the future. It gives these birds a safer place to nest and to play house and to learn how to play house. Because
safer place is a big one.
Yeah, they need this, and because all the trees have been removed from their shoreline for the houses and the views and all of that, this is more critical than ever. And with the amount of osprey that are coming back into Connecticut every single nesting season, a lot of them don't have a place to go. And part of this project and effort is going to alleviate that issue. We're going to see a lot more osprey well into our futures.
Yes, thanks to conservation efforts. Back in the late 60s, there were very few osprey left. They are found pretty much on every continent worldwide, but here in the United States, DDT caused their demise, as it did with the bald eagles, to the point where they were almost extinct from the United States.
Yeah, we're lucky we
and
have this
It was
species.
the conservation efforts that actually brought the numbers back. And without that, I don't know if they would have come back or not. But now the population is thriving, especially on the East Coast here of the United States. And it really has a lot to do with the conservation efforts of people putting up platforms, people like Terry Shaw.
Terry Shaw and the group, I just don't have enough kind words to say about them, because they have made a huge difference.
Yeah,
Huge difference.
absolutely.
We love this entire team. Every single build, they ask anyone to come along and help them with the projects, and it seems to be a thing where people are getting on board.
So thank you.
Thank you, everybody.